Social Security faces massive reform, 3.4 million Americans affected. A sweeping transformation in Social Security administration could profoundly affect millions of Americans, sparking both concern and debate. Starting soon, a new policy proposal by the Social Security Administration, SSA, threatens to disrupt the way senior citizens access and manage their benefits, a change that potentially impacts about 3.4 million people just this month. Here's the crux. Under the proposed rules, older adults will no longer be able to simply pick up the phone to update their address or check on their benefit claims. Instead, they'll need to prove their identity online first, or if that's not an option, visit a physical SSA office in person. This shift has sparked alarm, especially when you consider that SSA offices are already understaffed and plagued by long wait times for appointments. The SSA's move is intended as a fraud deterrent. They recently filed new regulations with the Office of Management and Budget (OMB), aiming to enforce stricter online identity verification for routine tasks such as changing addresses, requesting claim statuses, obtaining benefit verification letters, and accessing tax documents. If the OMB approves, these changes would take effect on August 18th. One of the core enhancements involves implementing multi-factor verification to generate personal identification numbers, PINs, a requirement for processing address changes and similar requests. On the surface, these security upgrades seem beneficial, but here's where it gets controversial. Kathleen Romig, Director of Social Security and Disability Policy at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, warns this new process will force millions to make unnecessary trips to SSA offices. That means longer waits, slower processing times, and a substantial new burden, particularly for seniors in rural communities and those facing mobility or transportation challenges. Adding to the controversy, Nancy Lehman, Executive Vice President and Chief Advocacy Officer at the American Association of Retired Persons, AARP, supports the goal of preventing fraud, yet she's worried the expanded use of the Security Authentication PIN, SAT, system could unintentionally block access for many older adults. According to AARP, about 1 in 4 seniors never go online, and many find creating or managing an online My Social Security account confusing or inaccessible due to unreliable internet. The SSA maintains that beneficiaries can make changes online, but AARP highlights that this option poses real hurdles for a significant portion of older Americans. Imagine being someone who isn't comfortable with digital tools or lacks dependable internet access, suddenly tasked with navigating an unfamiliar online verification system or forced to visit an SSA office. Critics have raised additional alarms. Many worry that disabled individuals and seniors might struggle with the multi-step verification process, including generating the necessary one-time PIN. Phone access has traditionally been a lifeline for those who can't manage complicated technology or who want to avoid taxing trips to SSA offices. The new policy could mean long hold times, frustrating waits for appointments, and potentially the need to take off work or find a ride, all for simple transactions they previously handled easily by phone. Nancy Lehman sent a pointed letter directly to Social Security Commissioner Frank Bisignano, urging him to reconsider these changes. She underscores the disproportionate impact on rural seniors and questions the practicality of expecting everyone to comply with increasingly digital processes. In what some might call a defensive stance, an SSA spokesperson told CNN that the new identity verification process is optional and won't increase field office visits. Yet, the regulatory filing tells a different story. It predicts 3.4 million people could refuse to use the security authentication PIN and therefore be required to conduct identity proofing in person. This disconnect between SSA's public statements and their official documentation leaves open an important question. Is this reform truly optional, or will it inevitably burden millions of vulnerable Americans? Could these security measures, designed to prevent fraud, unwittingly create a new barrier to accessing vital benefits? What do you think? Is tightening identity verification worth the risk of making it harder for seniors to get the support they need? Or should the SSA find a better balance between security and accessibility? Share your thoughts and experiences. Your voice matters in shaping this nationwide conversation. Social Security's new anti-fraud policy, how it affects seniors' routine tasks. Social Security is making sweeping changes that could significantly complicate the everyday interactions for seniors, especially when it comes to simple tasks like updating addresses or checking benefit statuses. And this is the part most people might overlook. These changes could make routine actions that have long been effortlessly handled over the phone suddenly more cumbersome. But here's where it gets controversial. The belief that tightening security measures will substantially reduce fraud, even if it means risking greater inconvenience for the people who rely on these services most. Currently, many older Americans depend on calling Social Security or visiting local offices to manage their benefits without needing to navigate complex technology. Yet, under the new policy, to carry out tasks such as changing addresses, obtaining claim updates, or verifying benefits, individuals will first need to authenticate their identity online through a process that involves generating a one-time PIN. If they can't do this online, perhaps due to lack of internet access or familiarity, they will be required to physically visit a field office. This shift, according to a recent regulatory filing by Social Security, aims to implement these changes by mid-August, pending approval from the Office of Management and Budget. Advocacy groups, however, are voicing serious concerns. They argue that many seniors and persons with disabilities will find the new verification process too difficult, particularly because it relies on online accounts that might not be accessible or user-friendly for everyone. Nancy Leamond of AARP expressed her worry that this new approach essentially forces seniors, especially those in rural or underserved areas, to spend hours on hold, endure lengthy wait times for appointments, sometimes even requiring taking time off work, and face additional hurdles for tasks they could previously accomplish simply by phone. In response to these criticisms, a Social Security spokesperson claimed that the new digital identity verification method is optional and will not lead to increased visits to field offices. They stated in an email to CNN that the process is voluntary, yet the agency's official documents show otherwise. The regulatory filing explicitly mentions that around 3.4 million individuals might choose or be required to visit field offices annually if they decline the new online security step. Adding to the complication, it currently takes to schedule an appointment at a Social Security office, a wait time that has persisted even as staff levels decline due to ongoing reorganizations. The recent policy initiatives are part of a broader effort. Critics like Kathleen Romig from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities argue that there's no concrete evidence proving these fraud risks are significant enough to justify such invasive measures. She emphasizes that these policies could lead to a 17% increase in field visits, translating to millions of extra hours spent on travel, waiting, and in-person appointments. This approach also reflects the administration's push to encourage more users to access services through online platforms like My Social Security. Many routine procedures that involve additional verification can indeed be handled online, streamlining processes, but only if the users are equipped and comfortable with digital tools. So, is this push for increased security actually protecting beneficiaries or simply creating unnecessary barriers? The debate is far from settled, and voices on both sides are eager for the discussion. How do you see it? Are we trading convenience for security at the right cost, or is this a step backwards in service accessibility? Share your thoughts below.